You are a thief! You stole from me!
I did not.
The chandeliers hum above the ballroom, their light trembling against gold and glass. Laughter dies slow, like music fading mid-note. Evelyn's hand is still raised, fingers curled where the seam split open. Grace stands still, breath shallow, fabric torn. The air itself seems to wait. Evelyn tilts her chin. You do not belong here. Her voice is sharp, not loud, the kind that cuts deeper for being calm. Grace does not move. The tear in her uniform hangs loose at her side, but her spine remains straight. The room bends around silence. Waiters hold their trays higher. Guests avoid one another's eyes, but no one looks away from Grace. Grace swallows, her lips parting only slightly. And yet, she whispers, I stand here still. The hush deepens. Someone gasps, quiet as a prayer. A woman lowers her, glass, fingers trembling against crystal. Evelyn's smile wavers for the first time. Evelyn leans closer, a hiss under her breath. You dare answer me? Grace meets her eyes. Her own voice is barely more than breath, yet steady. I only answered what you said. Power slips, not in an outburst, but in the shrinking of Evelyn's presence. Each second of silence weighs more than her insult. Her hand, once clawed, trembles at her side, pearls rattling faintly against her wrist. From the far corner a sound interrupts. Not a voice, not applause, but a camera click. One flash. A single frame captured. Evelyn flinches, head turning sharply. The journalist lowers the lens, his expression unreadable. Evelyn snaps, too quickly. Delete that. But the words fall flat. No one moves. Eyes dart. Toward Grace. Toward Evelyn. Toward the image already immortalized. Grace does not speak again. She does not need to. The ballroom is still. The chandeliers glow, but the air feels heavy, pressing down on everyone watching. Evelyn's hand still hangs at her side, the torn fabric proof of what she just did. Grace does not move. Evelyn exhales sharply, almost a laugh. Stand there, mute as stone. Do you think silence will save you? Grace lifts her eyes, slow, deliberate. No words yet, just a gaze that does not flinch. Her quiet is not emptiness. It carries weight, the weight of those who bowed their heads, who worked, who swallowed pain because their voices were not welcome in rooms like this. A guest murmurs, "Say something," under their breath. The words die quickly. Evelyn steps, closer, her pearls brushing against silk. You think you're strong? You look pathetic. Say it. Defend yourself. Show them you matter. Grace's lips part, but only for a breath. No words. The silence stretches. Each second grows heavier. A waiter lowers his tray, eyes fixed on the floor. An older man clears his throat but says nothing. The absence of sound grows louder than Evelyn's voice. Each pause fills with memory, of others silenced, dismissed, forgotten. Grace does not speak for herself alone. She carries centuries with her, and that weight cannot be mocked away. Evelyn's smile twitches, brittle now. What are you waiting for? Speak. Finally, Grace's voice emerges, low and steady. I have spoken. Evelyn blinks. No, you... Grace interrupts softly. My silence, that is my answer. The room shifts. People glance at each other, uncomfortable, unsettled. Evelyn stares, lips tight, but no words come. For the first time, Evelyn feels smaller. Her cruelty, polished and practiced, falters against what cannot be broken. Dignity that does not need noise to be heard. The moment hangs, unbroken, a silence heavier than screams. The dining table gleams, silver spoons lined with perfect symmetry. Evelyn's voice cuts through the clinking of glasses. My grandfather built this house brick by brick. My father multiplied it. And she gestures around the room with casual pride. I've turned it into an empire. Grace, still standing near the wall in her torn uniform, lowers her eyes. Evelyn leans back, sipping her wine. You think I need to explain myself to someone like you? You wouldn't understand. Wealth is in the blood. Her son, Daniel, shifts uncomfortably, his fork idle. Mother? His tone is almost a warning. Evelyn ignores him. Do you know what families like mine are made of? Work, vision, strength. Grace finally speaks, her voice quiet but steady. And the backs of those who had none of those choices. The room freezes. Forks stop midair. Evelyn's jaw tightens. Narration. For decades, her cruelty had been masked as tradition, polished into elegance. She never saw people, only servants, only tools. But tonight, tradition sounds like chains rattling in the silence. Evelyn smirks, but her hand trembles on the glass. Careful, girl, you forget your place. Grace doesn't answer. She doesn't need to. The silence says everything. A voice rises from the back of the room, hesitant. An older man, the janitor, once dismissed years ago, now working as a doorman. I remember, he says quietly. The one before her, fired for speaking up. Evelyn stiffens. That man was insubordinate. The doorman's eyes glisten. He was humiliated, walked out with nothing, and you laughed. The guests shift uncomfortably. Memories hang in the air. What was buried in whispers now returns. Stories, once erased, crawl back into the room, given breath by Grace's silence. The humiliation that vanished from records lingers in human hearts. Power thought it erased history. It only delayed it. Grace looks at the man, her silence an acknowledgement. He nods, tears brimming. Evelyn's pearls clink against the table as her fingers tighten. Enough. That was years ago. Forgotten. No, the man says simply. Not forgotten. The murmurs swell. Another voice emerges. A young woman at the edge of the hall clutching her coat. I worked here once, as a waitress. I complained. Her voice shakes. The manager buried it. I was told to disappear. Evelyn narrows her eyes. Another bitter nobody clinging to scraps of memory. The woman steps closer, her voice trembling but sharp. I cried in that kitchen, sleeves pulled down to hide bruises. You dined that night. You praised the service. Gasps ripple through the hall. Evelyn's face flushes. Each testimony is a stone unburied, a grave opened. Evelyn's empire was not built on wealth alone, but on silence purchased, pain ignored, voices pressed down beneath silver cutlery and fine wine. Grace watches quietly. She doesn't need to speak. Others are speaking for her now. Far away. In a glass-walled boardroom, executives sit in silence. Phones glow with the viral photo. No one speaks. One man coughs, breaking the stillness. This could hurt us. Another whispers, she's untouchable. She always has been. But the silence grows heavier, sour. Behind closed doors, power usually protects itself. But tonight, unease lingers in the corners. Some remember ignored complaints. Some recall buried scandals. Complicity tastes bitter when exposed under neon light. No one makes a decision. The silence makes it for them. In a dim newsroom, a reporter leans close to his editor. This photo is not just a scandal, it's a story that can burn her empire to the ground. The editor hesitates. Careful, she still owns people in high places. The reporter lowers his voice, sharper now. Not enough to stop this, not anymore. Whispers do not sound like rebellion, but they cut deeper than screams. They spread. They gather. They sharpen themselves against silence until they become weapons. The editor finally nods. Run it. Back at the dining room, Daniel stares at his mother. His assistant approaches quietly, leaning close. Sir, if you stay silent, you side with her. Daniel's chest tightens. He looks at Grace, still standing calm, then back at Evelyn, whose face burns with contempt. Daniel. Evelyn. Snaps. Say something. Defend me. Daniel's lips tremble. His voice barely escapes. I don't know if I can. Evelyn's eyes widen in shock. Silence becomes Daniel's battlefield. The blood that raised him pulls one way. Justice pulls another. The choice carves him open from the inside. Evelyn slams her glass down. Enough of this. I built this name. My word has always been final. Her voice trembles, just slightly, but the room doesn't bend. Not anymore. One guest mutters, "Not this time." Another nods. For years, her voice silenced rooms. Tonight, it echoes back against her, empty. Authority becomes noise when dignity refuses to bow. Evelyn looks around the hall, searching for loyalty, but finds only silence. Later, as media cameras crowd the gates, journalists shout, "Grace, tell us how you feel! Grace, one word for the nation!" Grace steps forward, her uniform still torn. She pauses. The crowd leans in. She says nothing. She walks past. Her silence frustrates them. But it commands more than sound bites ever could. She does not sell her pain. She wears it quietly. And in doing so, she owns the stage without ever standing on it. The cameras flash. Desperate. Her dignity is unshaken. At night, Evelyn checks her phone. A voicemail notification glows. She presses play. Her daughter's voice. "Mother, I cannot stand beside you right now. I need space." The call ends. No goodbye. Blood ties used to shield her. Now they are slipping away. Silence is not only outside her house. It has entered her own family. Evelyn stares at the blank screen, her hand trembling. Sunlight spills across Evelyn's manicured garden. The tables are set, chairs arranged, wine chilled. But no one comes. The birds sing. The fountain trickles. The chairs remain empty. Her empire was once measured by how many gathered under her roof. Now her invitations hang unanswered, ignored like dust. She walks between the chairs, her heels echoing on stone. Each empty seat feels like a verdict. In her dressing room, Evelyn stares into the mirror. She smooths her pearls, paints her lips, and forces a smile, but her reflection feels foreign, mocking. The woman who once commanded rooms now cannot command her own reflection. The mask of elegance cracks when no one believes in it anymore. She smashes the lipstick against the glass, a smear of red running like blood across her reflection. And in a charity gala, Evelyn approaches a group of familiar faces. They turn their shoulders, voices dropping into whispers. Did you hear the stories? The waitress? The doorman? They sip their champagne, avoiding her gaze. Allies are not lost in battles. They dissolve in silence. They step back slowly until their absence feels louder than their presence. Evelyn forces a smile, but the circle does not reopen. Inside a smoky boardroom, her lawyer whispers urgently. We had protection, judges, donors, governors, but no one's answering calls now. Evelyn grips the table. They owe me. The lawyer lowers his eyes. Not anymore. The backdoor deals that built her immunity rot in the light. Loyalty fades when power begins to bleed. Her empire trembles without its hidden pillars. Online, the image circulates endlessly. Grace standing quiet, Evelyn mid-tirade, wine glass trembling. No words, just silence frozen in pixels. Sometimes a single image carries more weight than speeches. Silence captured on camera spreads faster than fire, and no spin machine can erase what the world now sees. The photo becomes a symbol. Her downfall. Grace's dignity. At a ribbon-cutting ceremony, Evelyn extends her hand to the mayor. Cameras flash. The mayor pauses. Then, deliberately, he shakes someone else's hand instead. The crowd gasps. Evelyn's smile falters. When hands refuse to meet, when power refuses to touch corruption, the message is louder than speeches. Isolation becomes public. Her extended hand hangs empty in the air. Late at night, Daniel records a message. His voice shakes but grows steady. My mother taught me about wealth. Grace taught me dignity. I will choose dignity. He posted it. Within hours it spreads. For years he was her shadow. Tonight he steps out. Not by shouting her downfall, but by honoring the woman she tried to erase. Evelyn watches in horror as her own son's words turn into headlines. Grace leaves her shift at the hospital. The night is cool, the street empty. She carries groceries, her back straight. Strangers pass her, nodding quietly, respectfully. She does not seek cameras or applause. Her power is not in speeches, but in the way her silence continues to move through the world. For the first time, her steps feel lighter. At home, Grace folds linens. Her hands move gently, rhythmically. She whispers softly to herself. Dignity cannot be torn. Her words are not for the world, not for headlines. They are for herself. A quiet truth that holds more weight than Evelyn's empire ever could. Her silence is her crown. Months later, Evelyn's name surfaces only in hushed tones. Remember her? Someone asks. She had it all, lost it all. The story ends in whispers, not applause. Her legacy, once built on noise and control, dissolves into the background. She becomes not a giant of history, but a cautionary footnote. Her name fades. Grace's silence remains. In a small community center, Daniel launches a program for workers' rights, honoring Grace's resilience. Grace attends quietly, sitting in the back row. From one moment of silence, a seed is planted. It grows, not in fire or fury, but in dignity carried forward. Empires crumble, but dignity plants roots that cannot be pulled out. The crowd applauds. Grace closes her eyes. Her silence has become a legacy. Daniel stepped quietly into the marble hall. His shoes clicked on the polished floor, a sound that seemed to carry weight beyond their rhythm. Cameras flickered, lenses, turning toward him. Evelyn's gaze snapped to him. Her lips curved, confident, predatory. "You're late," she said, sharp, clipped. "I prefer to arrive when necessary," he replied, voice calm, measured. Her eyes narrowed. She adjusted her pearls. "Do you think you can lecture me here?" Daniel did not answer. His silence, stretched, deliberate. Evelyn leaned closer. "Do you—" she began, voice trembling slightly despite her attempt at control. Daniel's eyes met hers, unwavering. The judge's voice cut across the tension. "The image speaks for itself." Evelyn's hand twitched on the table. She laughed, brittle. "A dress. Just a dress." "No," Daniel said finally, voice steady and cold. "It was not the dress. It was her dignity." The courtroom held its breath. Evelyn blinked, lips parted, a pearl slipping slightly from her necklace as her hand shook to catch it. She clutched it tighter. Tightness strangled her composure. A murmur ran through the gallery. Whispers spread like a slow fire. History, right here. Journalists scribbled furiously. Phones recorded. Grace remained unmoving, calm. Not a single tear, not a tremble. Silence draped her like armor. Evelyn slammed her fist on the table. "I will not be humiliated." No one responded. Allies looked away. Chairs creaked under shifting bodies. The power she once commanded seemed suspended in midair, evaporating. Daniel turned toward Grace. "For years, people like my mother believed silence would bury the truth. Today, silence speaks louder than her words." Her gaze lifted. Just once. A quiet acknowledgement. No nod. No words. Yet it resonated. The courtroom leaned in without realizing it. Her composure held the weight of every injustice previously ignored. Evelyn's hands clenched the pearls again. Each pearl a memory, a celebration of privilege now turned against her. Her empire felt fragile beneath her fingers, brittle like cracked porcelain. The judge's pen tapped softly against the desk. Evelyn opened her mouth, but words faltered. Daniel's calm presence filled the space she had long dominated. "Grace," Daniel said, voice unwavering, "you deserved better. Our world deserves better." Silence stretched across rows of spectators. The murmurs died. Evelyn's lips trembled. Eyes darted around the room, searching for rescue. There was none. Her words, once shields, now backfired like knives aimed at her own heart. The photograph. Grace's torn uniform, Evelyn's smirk, Daniel's composed face, replayed in every mind present. Each camera captured a fragment of truth, Immortal. Evelyn's collapse was not loud. It was written in twitching hands, faltering shoulders, lips trembling with disbelief. The courtroom did not erupt. There was no applause, only the weight of acknowledgement. Every whisper, every shutter click, every steady gaze at Grace's quiet dignity formed a testament. Evelyn sank slightly into her chair, not fully, not visibly defeated, but smaller, fragile. The woman who once ruled rooms now seemed contained, diminished by the stillness around her. Daniel stepped back. Cameras followed him. Grace shifted slightly, her torn uniform a silent proclamation. The lesson was clear. Quiet dignity outweighed centuries of arrogance. Outside the courtroom, whispers would spread further, images circulating, reshaping opinion. But here, now, in this space, silence ruled. Justice was neither shouted nor celebrated. It was recognized, felt, internalized. Evelyn's gaze fell, defeated. Daniel's calm resolved. Grace's stillness spoke louder than any courtroom proclamation. The legacy of cruelty met the enduring weight of quiet power. The room exhaled together, though no one did so aloud. It was not a victory, not revenge, it was recognition. And in that recognition, Evelyn understood what she had always ignored. Dignity, once claimed, cannot be torn. Evelyn's fingers lingered over her pearls. She pressed them tightly, as though the familiar weight could shield her from absence. Hallways that once echoed with laughter were now hollow. Invitations never came. Guests no longer called. She paused at a doorway, staring at the empty dining table. Chairs stacked neatly, wine bottles untouched. The air smelled faintly of dust and regret. She whispered to herself, almost inaudible, This was supposed to be mine." Her phone buzzed softly against the marble counter. She picked it up, fingers trembling. "Mom?" The voice hesitated, timid, a faint apology wrapped in uncertainty. I am sorry." Evelyn's lips parted. "Yes?" No follow-up, no bridge to connection, only silence. She pressed replay, hoping for something more, anything that could undo the chasm. Days passed. The voicemail became a cruel echo. I waited," she murmured, voice breaking in the stillness. Elsewhere, Grace moved quietly through the hallways of her own life. Hands folding linens, smoothing fabric, arranging rooms. She said little, offered no explanation, sought no spotlight. Yet when she passed, voices softened, gestures adjusted. Respect followed her without need for speech. "Miss Grace, may I?" a young intern whispered, unsure. She shook her head gently. "No, thank you. Just do your work well." Her silence was not a weakness. It was authority, presence, endurance. Children watched. Women nodded. Cameras tried to capture her, but she offered nothing performative, only the quiet lesson that dignity cannot be torn. Daniel stepped to a podium, steady and deliberate. "This is for every worker silenced, every voice ignored," he said. Cameras flashed, but his gaze was not for headlines. "We will support labor rights, education, and healthcare. Privilege is not for pride. It is responsibility." The crowd leaned in, listening, nodding. "Not charity. Justice," Daniel continued, voice firm. "Grace's courage is a mirror for us all. We will ensure no silence can bury the truth again." Late at night, Grace folded linens by lamplight. The fabric was smooth beneath her hands. She whispered softly, a vow, not for the world. Dignity cannot be torn. She folded another sheet, slow, deliberate. Every crease is a quiet testament. Evelyn's name faded into the shadows, remembered as a warning. Grace's endurance, unspoken yet undeniable, lived on, a seed planted in silence, destined to grow. The injustice that had bent her spirit could never break it. And in the quiet of her small, persistent actions, the world learned what power truly meant.